Like, you don't have to work until you're 65 or 72. You can do something different. So that like sparked something in my brain where I decided right then, I'm going to retire at 45.
The more relaxed I am, the more money I make. That's one of my favorite Lisa quotes.
Let's bring those subconscious beliefs to the conscious level so we can say, oh, that's why I do this. This isn't something that you have to be born with money smarts. This is a learned skill. And being able to have money become a strength, I think, is something that's important. That anyone listening to this can become really good with money. But money has to be viewed in a really healthy way. Otherwise, it's like, it's against you. Like, I'll never have enough.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome episode of Limitless Living we have a very amazing, interesting guest today that I can't wait to introduce all of you to. And in this podcast today, please be sure to subscribe and join us and join our Limitless Living community, because my goal is to bring you all things when it comes to all things mindset, manifestation, and meditations. And today we are going to talk about wealth. And I have one amazing person that I have learned so much about. And she happens to be my investment coach and a dear, dear friend at this point. And I have learned so much from her, and I couldn't wait to have her on this podcast of Limitless Living so she could teach you so many things on how to start training your brain to attract more wealth in the next 30 days. So stay tuned, subscribe, and please let us know in the comments. We always come back in this podcast and really attend to your comments and all the things you have to say, all the things you want to learn, so we can have Lisa again. But for right now, I'm super excited to introduce Lisa to our podcast, Limitless Living. Welcome, Lisa. Happy to have you here and to be doing this episode, because money is a very interesting topic. And I think I have grown so much in terms of my own mindset and all the things that I've learned from you. So welcome, welcome, welcome before I introduce you.
Thank you for having me, Gunjani. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So I'm just going to tell all of you, for some of you, you may be new on this channel with me, and I just want to take a moment to introduce Lisa to you before I let her do her own little intro about where her journey about wealth and money and all the things she teaches and all the things she feels passionate about started from. So Lisa is a globally recognized wealth strategist, educator, and mentor with over 20 years of experience in teaching finance and investing at a collegiate level. As the founder of the Wealth Building Mastermind, Lisa has transformed 10,000 students and clients worldwide by simplifying complex financial concepts into actionable steps. So I hope you're sitting with pen and paper today, because you're going to learn a lot. And if you're not sitting with pen and paper, I invite you to write and process in the comments, because you're going to learn a lot. There is so much information that we have planned for you today. So I want you to have a pen and paper ready today, because these are going to be simple, easy, actionable strategies that she's going to share with us on how to attract wealth in the next 30 days, but also have a plan for the rest of your life and even the next generation, actually. So her expertise lies in helping individuals not only grow their wealth, but also protect and sustain it for long-term success. And we're going to start by talking about that. Lisa's passion for financial empowerment stems from her belief that anyone, regardless of their starting point, can achieve financial independence with the right mindset and guidance. She has empowered thousands of students with the tools and knowledge to take control of their financial futures. With a unique ability to connect, inspire, and educate, Lisa is committed to fostering financial literacy and creating a ripple effect of financial freedom across generations. So I'm so pleased and honored to have you on our podcast, teaching and talking and doing all the things you do. So welcome, Lisa. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Gunjani.
Okay. All right. So Lisa, I would like to start with let's start way at the top. As in, I know I gave your formal introduction, but if I had a time machine and if I had to go back, I want people to kind of get to know you and where you actually started your journey, about like, where did this passion for teaching wealth, where does this passion for, financial success and all the things that you live life by? Because on this channel, we truly believe I believe that we have to tap into our greatness, and we have this limitlessness, all of us, to us, and we can 100% create, 80% actually, create the life that we desire. And in order to do that, money happens to be one of the things that we need on this human plane to maneuver through. So I want to kind of know where your journey started and what's your story. What does that look like?
I think there was a couple pivotal points. So I think it's important to know that I actually started out as someone who felt like they were not very good with money. So when I left to go to college, I had a distinct impression, I got to figure this out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to be in trouble if I don't figure this out. So I tried to learn by reading books and doing other things so that I could pay off debt and just kind of start with the really basics. And honestly, this is something that I believe was kind of a weakness that's become a strength over time. And that's not possible for anyone. This isn't something that you have to be born with money smarts. This is a learned skill. So anyone can learn this. I was a teacher. I retired from teaching at 45, but I taught my whole career. I did other things on the side, but that was my main career. I was a teacher. And I taught at high school and I taught at the university level. So when I was teaching at high school, I had been teaching about 3 years. And there was a new teacher that was hired. And it turned out that this new teacher would become my financial mentor. And there was two instances that really made an impression and just kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And one was, he said, I'm almost financially independent and I'm going to retire in 2 years. And he was 40. And I thought, whoa, like, you can do that? Like, you don't have to work until you're 65 or 72. You can do something different. So that like sparked something in my brain where I decided right then, I just kind of pulled out the number, but like, I'm going to retire at 45. And I just decided right then and there. And then the other thing was, we were teaching together during 9/11. And when that day happened, we were sitting at the lunch table watching live and then reruns of, the towers being hit, crashing. And my financial mentor was to my right. And the principal who was in charge of, the school at the time was to my left. And he was standing up, literally holding on to his own hair. And he was like pulling his hair out. And so I look at him and he's standing and I thought, okay, he doesn't really know anything about investing. And he's like saying,
that, yes.
He's saying, I'm losing my life savings. Because the market was in a free fall for 4 days. And so I'm looking at him and his reaction, his emotional reaction. And then I look at Craig, who would become my financial mentor. And he was sitting there with a lunch in a brown paper sack, eating like the same thing that his kids had taken to school calmly. Yeah. And I thought, that man knows more than all of us combined, more than, 2,000 people combined about the stock market. And he was so relaxed about it. And it was in a free fall.
Wow.
So the difference of the reaction, I thought, I don't want to have this emotional reaction like my principal is having. I want to be cool, calm, and collect when these things happen, like Craig. And so that I can still picture all of this happening as if it were yesterday. And that had a big impact on me. So I talked to Craig as much as I could. And I think having a mentor is really helpful because it allows you to kind of skip the pitfalls. One thing Craig said to me is, Lisa, your journey is going to be different than mine, because I started out with some benefits from my family, and you're going to have to basically start from ground zero. And so he gave some books and just put me on the path to learning. And then eventually I created a set and forget it system that I taught at the college and university level. So me starting at like scratch and being able to have money become a strength, I think is something that's important, that anyone listening to this can become really good with money. So it used to stress me out, and now I think it's fun. And going from the opposite ends of how people feel about money. So I wasn't born wealthy. My parents didn't sit me down and say, hey, this is how you invest in the stock market. I had none of those advantages. And so I think you can really it's really about determination and desire.
Oh my goodness. I'm actually taking notes while you're writing this down, even though I know all the things that you teach me. But every time I sit with you, I'm like hungry for information. So I want to double click into so much of what you just said. One of the biggest things that we talk about in the world of manifestation and law of attraction is four things. First of all, like FTBA, which is your feelings, your emotional patterns, your emotional habits, your thoughts that you repeat over and over become your belief, and then your actions, right? Because it's not just about wishful thinking and sitting here praying all day long, but actually taking aligned actions to attract more of what we want, right? And to me, that was a hard lesson. So you said so many things in just like 5 minutes of all the amazing nuggets that you dropped. But I really appreciate your story, because I think a lot of our viewers and our audience and our community relate to the fact that a lot of times we're not born with the advantage of having that level of money. But also, one of the things that you said that really strikes with me, and on my own journey with you, I've been in your mastermind and I've done this journey with you for almost 3-4 years now. And from like, for some of you, you may not know, Lisa happens to be my investment coach and a dear friend. But for me, it came from this burning desire of like, yes, I had an advantage of growing up in a family where my dad did financially help me. But when I wanted to learn, my journey started with, I got a whole bunch of, in India, we get cash when we have children or when we have birthdays or we have weddings or whatever. And Avik, which is my son, when he was born, we had a whole bunch of cash and we got some money. And I was like, okay, it was like $1,000. But I was like, I want him to start out with, that was one thing that I had told myself, that if we get cash for him, I want him to start out with at zero, like day one. I opened his high yield savings and I started investment the way I knew it at the time. And this was 3 years before I met you. So I was like, okay, I need to be doing something. I want to learn, but I didn't know what to invest and how to invest. My dad was an investor. So I always grew up in a family where I knew to make money work for you, but I just didn't know how. And as a woman, I really wanted to learn that. And when I asked my dad, he's like, you don't need to worry about that. It's okay. You don't need. And I'm like, no, I do need to worry about that. I'm a mom now. I want to worry about that. And I want to put his money to work. This is not my money. This is his money. So by the time he's 18, I want him to be set. So that was my story of meeting you, because at the time you were beginning your career as a coach and expanding into serving lots and lots and lots of people. And I needed to learn investment, and it really helped to know that you were like that mentor, because I want to double click into the mentor thing, that the importance of having mentors and why. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know like train your brain, like the highlight of this whole thing is how to train your brain to make more wealth. But one of the things that you said is very important. And I think we should start here, because I started my journey with you and I feel like I have expedited my time of doing things. Like I have 10x the time by collapsing the time if I had to just learn from free YouTube videos or learn from books and all the things like you were trying to learn, right?
Yeah.
So after this, we'll definitely talk about mindset, because that is like a big part of this, but mentorship and why that's important.
I think that, especially where I'm at now in my career development and just online, I try to be the smallest fish in a room full of big fish, honestly. So I'm in different masterminds that allow me to shortcut.
Yeah.
So when I became retired, I was still learning online. I was using a lot of information I was finding. There wasn't a ton of information back then. There wasn't a lot of blogs, and books really didn't address it. And the prevailing belief was you have to work until you're 65. And that information turned out to be all wrong. And so what I've always known, I think intuitively, is that if I can get somebody on my team who can say, do this, and do this. And even if I don't understand those things yet, I can still benefit by taking action. So fear doesn't create wealth, action does. But we want to take the right action. And sometimes you have to, play around to kind of figure out what's right and what's not. But a mentor saves you so much time, so much money. and so much grief and stress. And you also have somebody who's saying, no, no, this is normal. This is going to work out. And so for me, at this point, the biggest progress I've made is when I've had a mentor to help me. So
100%.
specifically financially, and running a business. And I really honestly would probably hire a coach for almost anything at this point, because that coach is good. You're going to make, like you talked about, like exponential growth in a really short period of time. And people are kind of shocked how well their investments will grow if they're allocated correctly, even small amounts. And so I think mentorship and hiring a mentor or a coach is one of the most important things you can do to fast track your success.
100%. So I want to also talk about one of the other things, because a lot of times I hear objections from people, like when we started, right? Like when I started my whole investing in myself journey, because before that I was very scarcity mindset, and I'm like, I don't have the money to invest. And somehow it showed up when it came to, investing with you. Actually, I was sitting with my card and I'm like, but so many lessons and so many things came as a result of that manifestation, where we hear an objection from people that I don't have the money to invest. And I want to double click into the mindset of that and how those objections kind of impact. And that's the next thing actually I want to talk about, like mindset in terms of, I know that we have self-limiting beliefs, right? But a lot of times, we don't know what they are. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned with you on my wealth journey with you, because you are very heavily mindset focused. And given all the work that I've done over the years, I too am. And I think it really, really is important to address the mindset. I want to start with the emotions. You said that, I noticed my mentor being very calm, cool, and collected. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that, because I know one of your favorite quotes is, the more relaxed I am, the more money I make. That's one of my favorite Lisa quotes. So tell me more.
I think when you first start out with money, it's really stressful. Some people feel a lot of anxiety, or they will just avoid it altogether. And they have like beliefs, or have been told or think, or on some level, that money's stressful, or they're not going to have enough. Or that they're not good enough with money. I see that a lot. And Gunjani, when I first started teaching at the college and then university level, I realized I could teach them exactly how to become millionaires, because they were 18, right? 18 to 24-year-olds. I was teaching how to retire at 35. So they could become millionaires really early in life because they had, so much time. But if I only taught, this is how you do it, and I didn't address the mindset, it didn't work. It didn't work.
Thank you.
I'm teaching them exactly what to do, and only a certain percentage of them are doing it. And so then I realized the importance of mindset. And to be honest, I think it's 80% mindset, or how you 100%. Think, how you train your brain to think about wealth or money, earning, spending, all of that. And then it's 20% actual skills.
Strategies.
So, if I can give away and have many, many times, here's what you do.
Right.
And people go, that's great. And then they go make dinner and they go home and watch TV, and then that's it. Like they don't execute. Very few people execute.
Yeah.
But if they get into a place where they have support, like into your community, where I can come back when I'm starting to think, okay, what do I do here? And I have some new emotions about that. Then you have a community of like-minded people who are thinking just like you, or even better, thinking bigger than you, right?
100%.
So the feelings about money cause us, and it's all subconscious. So we just act. We're not trying to sabotage ourselves. We're not trying on purpose. Like, you're not going to say, I will live my life in 2025. You're not trying to do that. It's just that you have a preset point on what you're comfortable with. And that could be wealth. It could be relationships. It could be even foreign travel. I see people who won't travel to another country because they feel like, well, not everybody can afford this, or my family can't afford that. And so
or even themselves. I had literally convinced myself that I'm investing in myself right now. I can't travel anywhere. And that's not what you taught, but that's how I perceived it. Because I travel everywhere.
I travel everywhere. I love travel. And I think that we really ultimately should spend money on the things that we love, not more than we get, but really it's getting this relationship. So, but you have a set point. And so if you get something above, you get a job that pays more than maybe your parents made, in today's money. Or if you get like all of a sudden you end up in a nicer house than you think you deserve, or your siblings aren't earning as much as you, or you live in a slightly nicer place. All of this causes us like, am I going to get kicked out of my family? Like, is my family going to love me? So I've seen people, and I've had clients who are really successful investing. We get everything set up. They're earning money, and they get to like a certain mark in their, like if they get to a certain point, so many zeros in their investment account, and then they're like, and they're very uncomfortable. So they'll stop investing. They've gotten to the point where they're financially independent. And they stop investing because they say, I don't need any more money. I don't need any more money. Now, this isn't a race to get as much money. This is actually about happiness and about fulfillment. But we need time and money to open the doors of opportunity. So if somebody gets to a point, and I actually had a discussion with one of my clients, and I said, why did you stop investing? And she said, if my family found out how much money I have, they would completely disown me. Now, whether that's true or not, like they would stop talking to me. They would, it's already kind of a hard relationship. And so subconsciously, love and being part of their family was more important than wealth. Now, those two aren't intertwined, but our subconscious
100%.
believes that it is.
Exactly.
And so really our thoughts, Gunjani, you already know this, but our thoughts inform our subconscious belief. And so we're going to just, whatever we continually say, and we can get into talking about the brain, but it's really, really important to understand that your money story was formed between ages 2 and 4. You are watching and observing your parents. Children are keen observers of their caretakers. And how does my mom or dad or whoever I'm with, whoever's important in my life, how do they act and respond to money? And then by 7, our money story is actually just set. And we bring that into adulthood. And the understanding of a 7-year-old is running your finances. Then this is why people won't go check their balance in their bank account, because
that used to be me.
They're 7 inside. And so how can we inform this so we can get a better grasp of how would we actually cognitively think about this? So one of the things I talk to people about is let's bring those subconscious beliefs to the conscious level so we can say, oh, that's why I do this. And then it actually solves most of the problem just to understand and set new patterns and new thought beliefs. But just the other day, I had a friend come over to my house and she said, I'll never be rich. Now, you know that I don't like the word rich because it's very selfish. I like wealth because it propagates itself. And we know that money is something you have to earn over and over again, but wealth is money put to work. And so
I want to double click into that.
Go ahead.
Money is something you have to earn over and over and over. You go to work or you go do something, add value, and then you earn. Whereas wealth is money working for you. This is a Lisa Smith quote. I love this quote, and I really want to emphasize this. So please go ahead.
And it's important to understand the difference, because if you're just trying to get money, you're going to be on a treadmill for the rest of your life, right? The hamster wheel, a rat race, whatever you want to call it. It all describes the same experience, which is I go to work and I trade my time for money. And then I'm so relieved when I'm done that I spend the whole weekend spending the rest of my money. And then I have to go to work on, we never get ahead, and there's not happiness in that. And the only reason that we're earning money in the first place is so that we can put it to work, and eventually that money will work for us, because that gives us a really amazing lifestyle. We can spend more time with our families, with our children, and passion projects, and helping the community, in teaching what we absolutely love, and spending peace, joy, and happiness. Like that's what we're after. We're not after a huge bank account. The tool, and money is neutral. And it's like a shovel, so we can dig a garden or we can hit somebody with it. And I don't recommend that. But really, money is just a form of exchange. So you and I have talked about that. We used to use seashells.
I loved when early on in my day, when you first started this, you're like, money is like oranges. Money equals oranges. It doesn't mean anything. It's the value and the energy and our perceptions that we give it. It takes or gives us the power.
Right. And so when you have perspective, so what helps give people perspective is to think long-term. So I'm not about let's get rich quick, because that usually means I'm going to be poor fast. And so that's what that is.
I hope everybody heard that. Yes.
I'm going to build wealth over time, and it's just going to compound and work for me, because I don't want to spend a ton of time doing this. I just want to put my money to work. And you know the concept of like an apple seed. If we planted an apple seed, how many apples could we get from that single seed? And it's like infinity. So we want to have our baby dollars go to work and create more baby dollars and grandbaby dollars, and like just keep propagating, right? Just keep growing themselves. So, but money has to be viewed in a really healthy way. Otherwise, it's like it's against you. Like I'll never have enough, or I earn a lot, but then I can't save any, or I can't earn. And so I'm going to hold on tight to every single dollar that I get. And it's actually kind of rooted in a scarcity mentality. If I spend everything I earn, or if I hold on to everything I earn, I feel like there's not going to be any more money that's coming around. So there actually is a flow of money, and it's really important to just view it that way. So once people get their brains set up of this is how money actually works, and this is how wealthy people think. So wealthy people are not going to consume all of the money that they have. They're going to take a portion of that. So if you want to be wealthy, we mimic what wealthy people have done. And wealthy people will take a portion of their paycheck or whatever they're earning and invest that. That is how wealthy people get wealthier. And yeah. And so if you want to be poor, then you would spend more than you earn. And you would just keep on that track of I'm going to spend everything, or I'm not going to earn very much because I don't feel like I'm worthy of that. But the good news is, Gunjani, that we can raise this subconscious belief, and I call it a deserve level, but we can raise that by just like getting for free. So for free, you can like double or triple what you make. I had one client, Gunjani, who said to me, she said, I went to dinner with my friends and I thought I was the highest earner in that group of friends sitting around dinner. And for some reason, they all decided to say how much they made. So it was actually a benefit to her, because she was certain she was the highest earner. And as everybody went around, and in the US, we don't do this. But they did. And they went around and everybody shared how much they made, their annual salary. And she realized she was the lowest earner in the group. And it immediately raised her deserve level, because she thought, I'm just as smart as my friends. And so she actually went out and got a job, and she tripled her income in like 3 months because it was a mindset shift for her. So it really is just about perspective. And I have learned that there's really no obstacles, that we kind of create these obstacles
100%
of our beliefs. So you are really into this and removing blocks and obstacles, but I think that we paint ourselves into a box, or we put ourselves in a box on how much we can earn or how much we can have. And again, it's not about a competition of, oh, I have the biggest house, because I'm not into that. What I'm into is people reaching their full potential. Like that's exciting. So don't limit yourself and make decisions for 20 years of your life or longer, because you have to fit in a tiny little box that you created when you were 7 years old. You're bigger than that now. So what is your money story? And what would you like your money story to be? You and I both know that what we focus on grows. So don't focus on I can't, focus on how am I going to make that happen? And that starts to change. And we take little steps, little steps, so we don't trigger any fear responses and go to our lizard brain, right? Because when your lizard brain turns on, you lose the ability to be creative and to reason. And so you want to move towards creativity. And as a teacher, you know, they don't overpay teachers, at least in this country. And so I had to be creative because I had less to work with, but I was still able to retire at 45. And that's why I believe everybody can reach financial independence. You just have to have the right mindset and some skills.
Oh, this is so good. Where can I go with this? Like you said so much, so I'm going to kind of summarize some of this because there is so much wealth of information. I feel like this is the podcast that you have to listen to at least 3-4 times in order to actually digest, because now I have lived this experience versus listening to the knowledge, you know, because it's like we only remember 30 to 40% of what we listen to versus like teach and you remember 90%. So I really recommend all of you that are watching this really to like this and hit that notification icon so that you can remember to come back to this podcast, because there's so much that Lisa said. And one of the things that I want to double click into, like that I teach my clients, right, as a manifestation and mindset coach, because I really love focusing on transformation, and I love focusing on the neuroscience and how our brain, our body, which is 80% of how we show up to life, and how we show up or not show up. There was one thing that you said, like some of the limiting beliefs are, I can't, it's so hard, I don't know how it'll happen for me, I don't know what I need to do. Like if we focus on, like you said, whatever we focus on grows. So if we keep focusing on beliefs, and sometimes we don't even know, and that's why the whole idea, because for me, there was a point in my life, even as I was working with you, in terms of investment, I feel like I was hitting that set point and I couldn't tell why I was not going above that set point. And as much as I knew about law of attraction, what was stopping me, right? And I learned two things from that journey, because at some point, like, we had done some one-to-one work, and you were my client and that whole thing. And I was like, wow, like Lisa literally just, I know all the things. I tell her the things. We do one breathwork session, and in 60 minutes later, she like next week comes back with a car, with a CEO, her whole team, her everything that she just manifests. And what am I missing? Like clearly I'm teaching her, but I was missing. So I want to talk about that in a second, that in this last year that you haven't seen me much, but that's what I've been working on. And this is the thing where it's like the whole calm, cool, and collected thing. I still can't let that go in terms of the relaxation, because what I learned is people, situations, crises, and opportunities, they 10x our emotional patterns and habits that were formed very early on in life. So in the first 7 years of life, like you said, or teenage years of life, or early years of like early 20s, when our brain is the left brain, the higher cognitive mind is not developed, right? So we develop these emotional patterns. And we, again, from the law of attraction perspective, we attract more of what we want or don't want, right? Because if we keep feeling fear, and this is why I think a lot of people, when they try to go above their set point, which is where I was stuck, where I'm like, I know all the stuff. I know the info. I got the info. So I tell you, and we figure out your blocks. But sometimes I think also in terms of mentors, it's like they help us see our blind spots, because that's what I needed. I was like, obviously, what are my blind spots? What are my competing agreements? Like, yes, I want to grow my wealth. Yes, I want to make my money work for me. But I couldn't see, even though I did all the work on my own, I couldn't see where I was sabotaging myself or what my blind spots were. And what I learned from that process was, even though I knew calm, I knew relaxation, I wasn't embodied that as much as I could have been. So that was one. For me, the second thing was the whole worthiness and the deserving level. Like if we believe that we deserve it, like for you, you were like, yeah, 100,000, not a problem. And I'm like, like, so how will it happen? What do I need to do? What, how will it ever happen for me? Like I was so stuck in the how, or I was stuck in the, the doubting, or either just the desperation, like, okay, I'm really manifesting, so I'm really focused on it, which essentially just meant I'm desperate about it. And when we feel desperate, we don't feel calm as if we already have it, because law of attraction is like, we feel it till we manifest it. We don't act it, make it till you make it. So it's like, okay, I'm clearly teaching, like it was such a foreign concept to me I knew it, and I kind of also embodied like relaxation, but maintaining that energy was very, that was a lesson for me, because I was like, wow, what do you mean? I need to be happy now? And like, not when I have the 10 million, like right now, because it was just, and those were the lessons that I had to learn in terms of brain hacking and in terms of brain training, that I need to teach myself how to be happy and set easy conditions to be happy right now. Like I'm alive today, so I'm happy. Not, oh, I have 10,000 people on my Instagram, served million people, made 10 million, then I will be happy. Until then, I was just desperate, living in lack, trying to make it happen, hustle, very yang energy. And you had seen me. So I'm like, oh, like Lisa's looking at me like, yeah. But I'm so glad you're on this journey. I love it when I come to you and you're like, I'm so glad to see you here, because we all go through that process, because I kind of saw you also go through that process when you were set at your set point. So I need to be happy now, and happiness is an inside job. Like nothing, like you always say, like, the money will bring us temporary happiness. The relationships bring us temporary happiness, because if happiness is not our pattern, then that is something that we have to keep teaching ourselves and set easy conditions to be happy, easy conditions to be satisfied, easy rules to be calm and relaxed, not when it happens, but right the second. And the opposite of fear is easy conditions to comfort, like it's okay. And then also the language and the thoughts and the beliefs that come around it. It's like, as I'm growing, there are some things where I'm like, okay, now I know how to, use NLP and break my beliefs. Like I can teach you all. But for me, in the beginning, I was like, what are my beliefs? I didn't even know. So I had to really, and for those of you watching, I want to give you like a exercise for you to do. So if you ask yourself, or whatever your emotional patterns with money are, so identify your emotional patterns right now, because that'll be really helpful to you. So it's like, okay, I feel stressed. I don't like looking at my bills. I feel unworthy. I don't feel good enough. I feel anxious. I feel dissatisfied. Like it's never enough. I'm not growing fast enough. Oh, I didn't invest as much as I could have, right? All of those patterns are seated in lack. And if those are your patterns, just be honest. Don't judge yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. That's not the point of this entire exercise. But as you recognize your emotional patterns, and then say, what is the opposite of that I want to train myself to feel? And then you have to train yourself to feel those. And then the next step to that is, and setting easy conditions. Like my easy condition, first it was like my easy condition to be fearful was I looked at my tax or I looked at my bank account and whoa, and it was scary. But now I'm like, I'm just relaxed no matter what. I'm relaxed. I have people that do my taxes, aka my husband. My belief. So then it was like, I am fearful because, and just put pen to the paper and write down why. Like I am fearful because those are your subconscious beliefs. Like my subconscious belief, I'm fearful because I'm scared of, looking at my bank account because there's not enough. Okay. So then if I created that, because again, these days I'm like 100% responsibility for my frequency, which is my emotional patterns, my thought patterns, and my beliefs. So it's like, okay, if I attracted that into my life, I can also attract the opposite of that. So I take full responsibility for my bank account the way it is right now. And there's a huge and instead of a but. And it says, okay, because there's not enough money. So what is the opposite of that I want to believe? There's more than enough when I need it. Right? So if we teach ourselves that, then it's like, this is so good. And it feels good because what we think is what we believe. Thoughts repeated over and over, we believe. And what we believe is how we feel. How we feel is how we act. So it's like, if I feel anxious, I don't want to go to my bank account and look at it. So that relationship with money was very anxious for me. It was very avoidant. Like, let me not look at it, out of sight, out of mind. But you taught me that no, you have to look at stuff or numbers. Like numbers was not my thing. So I'm like, now I love numbers. I love numbers. That's something I have to teach myself. Very yang energy. I love numbers. And that was quite interesting. But thanks to Sarah, that I know who to go to now when I need numbers. How much am I investing, people? Just tell me 10% of this is what. So how we think is how we feel. How we feel is how we act. But how we feel is also how we keep thinking. So the work, the inner work in terms of the mindset is catching ourselves. And one of the things that I teach my clients and my community is catching yourself right then and there. As soon as I hear people say, it's so hard, in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming of your nervous system and your brain, is say, cancel. You break the pattern, because otherwise, if you don't break the pattern consciously, then your subconscious runs the show, which is according to you, your 7-year-old runs the show. And then you're trying to be millionaire, I'll be happy when, but you'll never be happy because that's not your pattern. And one of the other things that I also learned from you in just the containers that you surround yourself in, is like, you're like, I know people who are worth $100 million and their pattern is, how do I deserve this? Like, this is so much, I feel guilty. Because guilt is the pattern. Guilt has nothing to do with money. Guilt is the pattern. So the opposite of guilt is I accept, love, and accept myself and money. Thank you, money, for always being here for me. Gratitude is not the pattern. It's something we have to teach ourselves. So I find all that very fascinating, that what we keep thinking is what we keep attracting. What we keep believing is what we keep attracting. And if we're not aware of that, we unconsciously attract more of what we don't want.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because sometimes we just don't question what we think, right? We think it's true. And it may be really negative or it might be really positive. Like, I believe that I find money. And this is kind of a joke in my family and my
I
nieces
love
and
that.
nephews. Like, I'll sit down, we go to a play and they're like, Lisa, there's money under your chair. I'm like, oh, you can have that. And they're like, no, this is yours. Like, you can live off of the money that you find. And that's not true. But I do believe that money is attracted to me. And I also believe I'm a good steward of money. Now, have I always been perfect? No. Has it always been easy for me just to say, oh, yes, I welcome in hundreds of thousands, millions a month? No. The first time I earned the first time I earned in a month what I used to make in a year, I was like in the fetal position on the couch, like freaking out. And you would think, oh, why would that be hard? And most people think it's not hard to get more. That's actually, it's just as much of a struggle to try to push that, if you haven't changed your subconscious beliefs, to push that ceiling of your belief up, as it is to just kind of be in the struggle. So the first time I was, whoa, like the whole deserving game, I deserve, all of this stuff that goes through your head that's just nonsense. We believe it. And then we start
And we live it, become it.
Yeah. And so we're stuck in this vortex of our own creation. And so if we can just like sidestep that and say, what is true? What is actually true? And people will argue with me, no, I'm really not good with money. I'm like, stop arguing for something you don't want. First of all, what do you want to be true? Like, up until now, what do you want to be true? And so I would rather focus on a pleasant, happy future. And I know I'm going to get there because I've done hard things in the past. And so has everybody listening. You've done hard things in the past. And so you've done harder things than this. It's just about getting confidence in this area where it might be an emotionally charged topic in your family or for you, but you've done harder things in the past. You can do this. And that's the belief that I want people to walk away with. You can do this. And so what do you choose to focus on? What do you want your money to look like? What do you want your wealth story to look like? What do you want to have in your account? Where do you want to live? And working towards that lifestyle design. And just like when Craig walked in and said, I'm going to retire at age 42. And I was like, what? Like, my whole brain was just, what? Can you do that? Like, is it possible? Like, how are you breaking the rules? Like, it was this set thing, you got to go to work and then get a house. And like, I was just following the traditional, like, who even made that up? So he's like, no, I'm just going straight to the good. And you can do the same thing. So just the very small belief of, I can actually have what I want, or I can work towards what I want, and it's possible. Just that belief, planting that one seed in your brain of where do I want to go and how am I going to make this happen, changes everything. And people will argue to keep their themselves in a box. And I don't allow people to say anything about me, or allow myself, without doing the cancel, to say anything about me that I don't want to be true. And so 100%. If I catch myself saying something, I do the whole Gunjani thing, cancel, like, that's not true. And then I say what I want to be true, because if I'm focused on my wins, if I'm focused, even if they're tiny, like you said, I woke up this morning, I went out to get the mail in a giant snowstorm, that's a win. Little things like that compound the confidence factor. Just do something, just do the smallest thing, and like pay off debt. The things that empower people, Gunjani, are paying off, even if you send $10 something. If you can pay off something, go ahead and do it. But if you can pay off debt, if you can start investing or saving and build up an emergency savings, that's like the very first step. And it builds confidence and it empowers people. So we need to feel empowered about our money, and people feel like, I need to hand the reins to somebody else because they'll do it better and I don't know. That's what we outsource this. If you outsource your money, caretaking of your money, you're always going to feel insecure because you're not going to know.
100%.
So I'm into personal empowerment massively, because I want everyone who's listening to this, I want you to know you are the boss of your money. You tell each 100%. Dollar where to go. So if it all slides through your hands, you actually don't have to do that. You say, now listen, dollars, I'm the boss here, and you're going to go to work and you're going to go to the electric bill and you're going to pay for groceries and you're going to sit in a savings account so I feel awesome all the time. So you're just going to boss your dollars around, and your dollars don't boss you around. Hopefully no one's coming in and spending your money. And so you're actually in charge. And that's the biggest switch people need to make in their brains, is that I'm the boss of my money. So I look at my money and I say, all right, let's line up and let's get to work here. Like, we're not going to have any slackers who are just sitting around not working. So if I have something that, like a subscription that I don't use, that's the slackers. Those are slacker dollars. We got to get those guys to work, and really just thinking about, I'm empowered with my money and I don't have to outsource this. And somebody else isn't, even if they like try to convince you, hey, you don't know what you're doing, that's not actually true. And they just usually want something. There's a second motive there.
Thank you for
it's usually them earning money, right?
Because there was a point of my life where I had certified, licensed all the financial bank people. And I asked you, I was like, Lisa, there was a question we have in the comment, but it's like, was Lisa always like this? She loved taking risks, and when she started investing. I might answer this question and then you can elaborate on that on your behalf, because you've taught me this. I think the system that you teach, the set it and forgetting system, is not about day trading. It's not about the whole crypto thing. It is not about let's, do this. Like you said, it's a long-term investment that you learn how to boss your dollars around and make them work for you. And one of my personal examples was like when I had a bank person who was handling my wealth, and then 2008 happened and I lost a whole bunch of money and started freaking out, because that's what people do. Emotional patterns are to freak out in crisis. So if you haven't taught yourself not to freak out, even if you have 100 million, you will freak out, because that's the pattern. So one of the things that helped me learn from you was there is no risk. You know how to put your dollars to work, so there is no risk. The mindset is very different, because again, like you said, 80% is the mindset. Yeah. As long as you know what you're doing, you give us the full reins of, Gunjani, do this, like how much I want to invest a month based on my income and based on my financial future. It's 100% up to me. You don't sit here and tell me what to do and how to do and this market. You tell me where the market is. You've taught us that, actually. Not tell me, but taught us, your mastermind, that your program teaches us what to do with our dollars so that we can make an empowered decision that works for us, our family, and our legacy. It's not about day trading and make your dollars and go up and down and jump around. And I don't care for that, because that only further exacerbates my anxiety and stress. And that is the opposite of set it and forget it. And it's like, according to your system, my dollars are growing just fine by themselves, because they're allocated in spaces that I know have studied the risk, and you've done all the work, which is what I'm paying you for. So you've taught me what to do, and now I can make that decision for myself, as opposed to figuring out what the market is doing and my head is straight. Like most of my people that day trade or they do all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not available for this. Cancel. Like my frequency is not available for stress, for anxiety, for like one of the things that I love in your community that actually I've been a recipient of, in 2020, it's like most millionaires are made in recession. And you taught us what to do in 2020 when everything was falling apart, as in exactly what to do and what not to do. And all these strategies are important because it teaches us, okay, what to do and how to do it. But the mindset around it is, like you said, very important. So please go ahead.
Let's talk about that, because I actually don't do risky things. I'm the least risky investor, but I get high returns because it's about perspective. So let's talk about, that's a great question, by the way. So I invest in things that have the lowest risk and the highest returns and the least cost. That's my philosophy. And I only invest in things that are gold standard. So that means that they're the best of the best. But let's talk about this, because this is such a good question. I'm so glad this was asked. Perceived risk versus real risk are two separate things. So I got an email from a client this morning that said, hey, the market's been going down and I know people who've pulled completely out. Like already, the market's only down like 10%, and it actually went up today. So it's not even down 10% anymore. And they pulled out completely. That's real risk. Perceived risk is that the market goes down. Oh no, I'm going to lose money.
To fret. I didn't even know all this was happening. I'm like, my money's growing for me. I'm retired.
So the market's gone down, and oh no, if I don't take it out, I'm going to lose money. But and let me give an example. So when I was working full time, I had two colleagues who said, in I think it was in '08. Yeah, it was in '08. They said, I'm going to sell, right? So we know the market goes down. And
I did that. G for guilty.
Right. So I had two colleagues who said, I'm going to sell. And I talked them out of it for 4 months. And then right as it got down to the very bottom of the low, they sold everything because they said, I'm losing money. But there's a difference between a paper loss, which means that your shares are worth more money, but you still have those same amount of shares, which is really important to know. And then if I sell those shares, then I don't have anything. And it's really hard to get back into the market because the market's usually going to correct and it's going to go back up. So the market has cycles and the market is doing what the market does, but perceived risk versus real risk, you have to know the difference. Otherwise, you are going to lose money and it's going to feel risky. Like some people, their parents have taught them, don't invest in the stock market, it's risky, but they didn't know what they were doing. And so when you buy when it's really high and you sell when it's really low, that's kind of the opposite of what we'd like to do. And so it is risky, but perceived risk is I'm going to lose money. And then you turn it into a real problem by selling. And so people have the perceived risk of if the market goes down, I'm going to lose money. Well, everything's now on sale, so why not buy more? And so I buy when everything's on sale. I follow Warren Buffett's investment advice, and he makes a lot of money, and so do we, which is if the market goes down, we buy more. Not more of everything, and there's parameters of what you want to get, but most people are operating off of an emotional reaction versus hey, let's sit back and look at this. Where is this going to be in 20 years? How many times has the market never recovered?
0.
The market has never not recovered, so it's going to recover. So you don't sell out now and then try to get in who knows when, because the market's going to keep going up and then you're going to think, oh no, like when do I get in? And so you just leave your money there and invest more. If you've got a 401k or any kind of a retirement plan, just put more in there. You're going to make more money in the long run. So we always want to have a perspective, the correct perspective, which is a long-term perspective. It's very easy to make millions of dollars over a 20-year time period. And you might say, oh, I want millions before 20. That's fine. You can do that.
More in.
Yeah, put more in. But it's very easy to make millions of dollars over a period of time.
100%. Thank you for clarifying that. That is quite important because it's like it reminded me of that principal who was pulling his hair out and he was the one who sold when he shouldn't have been selling. And Craig is like, oh, wow. And now 20 years later, Craig is like, the 7 generations have never have to work. And I'm just going to be eating my sandwich, sitting and teaching people what to do. It's huge difference. And I think this is so important in terms of training your brain, your beliefs, your emotions, and taking aligned actions. Actions are 20%, but if your beliefs and your emotional patterns are risk aversive or perceived risk aversive, then you're not going to take the risks that are actually good for you in the long run. And your emotional patterns will continue to exist irrespective of how much money you have or not.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. And so you might have to go against what feels risky, but in reality, it's not. So one example really quick, at the bottom of '08 and even of 2022 and the bottom of the COVID drop, this keeps happening, right? It happens periodically. That's actually the safest time to invest because the prices are lowest. So you just have to think about it differently. And you have to understand that it's counterintuitive. But that's why I'm so relaxed because the market's going down and I'm like, yay. Now, not that I want crazy things to happen or uncertainty to be there, but anytime there's uncertainty, which is change, then the market reacts by going down until it kind of knows what's going on. And so if I can be, just thinking, well, in 20 years from now, what will I wish I had done? Oh, I wish I had purchased at the bottom, right? And so it's actually once you get used to that and teach your brain that I'm actually making more money. I make more money. I make money and so do you, when the market goes up or it goes down.
Yeah.
We just make
my dollars work for me.
Yeah, but we don't do day trading. We don't do shorts. We don't need to do any of that. And it's just stressful to get into that. I don't want to have to babysit my money. I want my money to grow unattended. Like I put it to its work and I can trust it that it's going to grow. Like it's assigned its job and it just keeps growing. And so I don't want to have to babysit my money. I don't want to be in front of a screen. I'd rather be hiking or outside or with my family or doing all sorts of things, but I don't want to be glued to a screen. And that you don't have to do that. People who do that actually tend to make less money.
100%. This is so good. Thank you for sharing that with me. One last thing that I want to address. We are at time, so I want to be mindful about that. But this is so juicy and so good. I feel like I'm going to have you for part two of this. But one of my biggest lesson as my journey with you that I learned from you, like the worthiness thing is one, the safety with money in your nervous system and your elevation to wealth is the one of the things we talked about. And the third thing is trust. I had to really learn that, like deeply in the past, surrender, actually. Let's really use the right words. Since we are playing on words here, because the way I would see you, and I think it comes with expansion of your consciousness and your levels of your emotional patterns and where you're at, because again, it is a journey. To me, really getting to this place of my dollars are working for me, building the security beforehand, because I used to see you doing this when we worked together. I'm like, how does Lisa just say this and then 3 o'clock in the morning she'll get a download and then she goes out there and acts on it, and then a week later her stuff is already manifested, like literally anything and everything we called in just happened, right? And I think I just want to loop it back to what you said earlier when we first started this episode was creativity and inspiration happens when you're relaxed. Really, I need to pause on this for a second. And relaxed all the time, not just like, 1 micro minute for the day. Like literally that was me. I was like, I'm relaxed. I do this breath work. I'm relaxed. But there was so much data. There was so much I had to clear from my body energetically that I literally had to release in order to get to this place of it's happened. It's okay. It's like, in the meantime, my job is to have fun, is to relax even more, to chill out, to literally trust that universe is working in my favor.
Yes.
That was really a big belief that I truly saw you living, but I didn't know how to embody. And I was just like, there's a whole bunch of clearing. So for the past year and a half, I've been just clearing a lot using all the techniques that all of you will have access to on this channel, because I'm going to do more and more to put out content and to put out all this material to clear out all that emotional data. Because if you don't clear that emotional data out, and if you're constantly living this present moment in survival, which is fear, desperation, doubt, house, as opposed to from creation, it's just causing yourself all this madness that is just not worth it. So one of the things we do in my life coaching community is we track our emotional frequency and our pattern, and we actually in real times every 3 hours clear that out. Like literally all 30 people in our community does that, because the goal is to maintain your frequency. It's not like life doesn't give us challenges. We will have challenges. And how do we clear it, recognize it, cancel it in the moment, and change those patterns to become the new us and the future self, as opposed to keep reliving the addiction of the past. So thank you for teaching me all the things you did. If you want to expand on that, I would love your thoughts.
And Gunjani, some of the stuff that I learned from you. So we were learning from each other. I do love your phase 3 mug. Thanks for demonstrating.
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful gift. It is amazing.
Gunjani's in level 3, so she has her special mug. I think that really our brains are the most powerful wealth creators that we have. And we are the ones that tell our brains how to operate. So it's a neutral organ, but it is very, it's very open to suggestion. So our thoughts and our words inform our subconscious mind. And so you have been amazing at clearing and just doing all of the work. So it does require some deep work. If you want to change what you have today, you have to do something different. And I've gone through that process. You've gone through that process. Everyone who's listening to this has done this in different areas.
Is doing it. Doing it also.
And it is a doing, right? You're not done. You can't just check this off and say, well, no more money issues. It doesn't matter where you're at. You still bump into these ceilings. And so I think one of the things that you've taught me, Gunjani, is like, let's not take this so seriously. Let's just look at this, and it's not a concrete thing, right? It's if it's a soft rubbery ball, like we can work with this. And so I think that really just being present with what what life do I want to create? And I have the tool within my own head for free that I can tell my brain what I want, and it will work for me 24/7, all year long. And it will work to get what it is that I want. And so how can I like just being really like, what do I visualize? What do I want? And I know now, like if I plan something, if I want something, and I do picture journals and everything like that, future diaries, I go back and I look and I'm like, wow, I've checked all of these off. Like your brain just works in the background for you. So please harness the power that's within you to create the life that you desire. And it doesn't matter where you're at right now. Your starting point really doesn't matter. It's just your determination to get there. And you have the power right now for free to create the lifestyle that you would make you so happy. You're going to hopefully be happy along the way. But we're always just cultivating this happiness, because at the end of the day, you cannot buy more time, right? That's the most precious commodity that we have. Relationships are super important. All of this is more important than money, but money influences everything that we do. So if we can get really good with the money part, it actually bleeds out all this happiness into other areas of our lives. But we have the ability to create that within our own brains for free, just be willing to look at it and examine it, maybe write some things down, journal it, and then listen to what Gunjani says to remove these blocks. And you actually will surprise yourself where you'll be in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months from listening to this, and then listening to it again a couple times. There's podcasts where I'll listen to them 10 times, books where I'll read them 10 times in a row, because I'm like, this is gold. I want to listen to this and I want to learn from this. And I want to pick up the gold nuggets. And I think, Gunjani, that's how you roll.
Thank you. I'm so excited to keep rolling with you because the next phase is on. I'm excited. And I'm so grateful to have you as a friend and a mentor, because it is truly like I wanted to learn from a woman. I wanted to see a woman feeling so empowered and having it together and teaching it and being so humble and being so nice and kind. Like there have been times that I've been harsh with myself and judge myself, and you're like, Gunjani, this is not how we show up. You can do it. You got this. I know you got this. And I'm like, how does she see it now? I'm like, oh, cancel. This is not how, what would Lisa do? So thank you for being that guidance in my life. And where can people find you? For all my life coaching, limitless abundance members, where at some point I'm collaborating with Lisa to bring you all this knowledge to figure out, because Lisa's mission is to empower 1 million women to make millions strong. And so is mine. I want women and men to be financially independent and live all 4 areas of life successfully: health, relationships, money, and career. Because again, one without the other it's like car having 4 tires that go the same destination. One without the other is not going to go places in alignment. So I want people to succeed in all areas of life, because I truly believe that we can have it all. But we have to have mentors, we have to learn things, and we need skills actually, because there are so many things. Like we go to school, we get a job, we get paid. But in life, we need skills to keep a relationship. We need skills to invest and make our money work for us. We need skills for emotional intelligence. We need skills for all these things that we necessarily don't get taught, right? And what if we could, I truly believe like you, that mentors and the whole concept of modeling, like model someone who has done what you've done and collapse time and quantum leap, pay for it, and believe that it is possible, right? Like if we don't, then it's not going to be possible, and we are going to continue reliving the addiction of the suffering. Yeah. So please tell me, how can people find you and follow you and learn from your wisdom and all the things?
At lisasmith.com. And all my social media is on the bottom of that website. So I would love to have people reach out on social media. I love hearing stories. I love hearing success stories. And that's what makes me so happy, is actually to see people's progress and to watch your progress, Gunjani, from like, help me to just super peaceful about money. Yeah. And really ticking off all of your goals as you've gone along. So I'm incredibly proud of you and what you've done. And it's been, a pleasure and a joy to watch you and be with you. So thank you for having me. today.
No, thank you for being here. We'll do this again at some point because there has to be a part 2 of it. And please, for all of you that are watching, please let me know in the comments what was your biggest takeaway or your biggest breakthrough through this conversation. If you have any questions, please let us know. I'm happy to answer. Lisa is very much present on Facebook. She has a Facebook group that you can join. It's called Retire by 45. Lisa, she's also present on Instagram. She's working on her YouTube expansion. And she has a website, lisasmith.com. So again, like I said, my limitless people are very much going to see more of her because I want to teach people how to make their money work for us. So thank you, Lisa, for being that guidance and all of that love in my life. And I'm so grateful to be a part of yours. So thank you, everyone, for watching today. And please subscribe because we will be having more conversations like this on Limitless Living podcast. And I am so excited to teach you and add value to your life because my biggest goal is to help 1 million people live a life that feels happy and free of suffering, whatever that looks like in all areas of life. And I feel super excited to have figured out the ropes and now teaching all the ropes that I've been practicing for 17 years. And I can't wait to continue to see this community grow. So thank you for watching. And I look forward to the next episode with you very soon. Please let me know in the comments what your thoughts were related to this. Thank you, Lisa, for being here.
My pleasure.